You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Buying a car in Carvana was so easy. I was able to finance it through them.
Whoa, wait, you mean finance?
Yeah, finance. Got pre-qualified for a Carvana auto loan, entered my terms, and shot from thousands of great car options, all within my budget.
That's cool that financing through Carvana was so easy.
Financed. Done. And I get to pick up my car from their Carvana vending machine tomorrow.
Financed.
Right, that's what I said.
You can spend time trying to pronounce financing, or you can actually finance and buy your car today on
Carvana.
Financing subject to credit approval. Additional terms and conditions may apply.
Hey y'all, and welcome to another episode of the Millennial Management Podcast. I am your host, Brandy, the Millennial Manager, and today is Wednesday inside of Patreon. If you are outside of Patreon, it's motherfucking Friday, and I just want to say I hope you are having a good ass Friday, bitch. Okay? No matter what day you're listening to this, I don't give a damn if y'all late on the podcast and you're coming back and it's Monday. I don't give a damn. I hope you're having a good ass day no matter when you're listening to me right now. Now, just like I told y'all on our last episode, we are going to be discussing pregnancy discrimination. This one was a requested topic by Patreon. And so I want to highlight it a little bit. So, number one, can you be questioned inside of an interview regarding your pregnancy status, if you're planning on having children, even if you have them? The answer to that is hell motherfucking no. Okay? No, they cannot. However, right? Because they can't just say, hey, girl, are you pregnant? Hey, man, is your wife pregnant? Are you planning on having children? So they can't just come out and ask you that. So they ask in ways that are much more subtle. Okay? What do I mean? You come into the interview and like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. You say absolutely. And, whatever, just the pleasantries. And then they say, yeah, it was such a crazy day yesterday. My kids this, my kids that. And they are looking for you to say, my kids too. And it's just a natural response. When you hear someone else say, my kids did X, Y, and Z, if it relates to you, just the fact that you also have children, you're automatically going to respond. And I feel like people do this as a way to disqualify applicants, because what do children mean? Children mean that your focus is not this fucking job. Okay? I'm here to do a job. However, outside of here, my kids are much more of a higher priority. Now, if you work in a setting that is not family oriented, because I don't want to, I don't believe in that shit in the workplace. But if you work in a setting that values, people's outside families, then of course, this is not for you. Okay. I work in that type of setting. I maintain that type of setting. However, there are workplaces that penalize you for having children, and can be quite weird when you go into the fucking interview. So they try to relate to you in situations like that, and you just have to be careful of the words that you divulge or the things that you divulge. I always tell people when they sit down in the interview and they say, how are you today? How was your day? Tell me a little bit about yourself. And people automatically start with, okay, well, I'm a mom. I've been married for 3 years. We have 2 littles. And professionally, girl, I don't need to know all that fucking shit. I don't need to know that. I don't need to know that you have 2 children. I don't need to know that you're married. When people say, tell me about yourself, you need to stick to your motherfucking career. You understand? Tell me about yourself. Well, currently I work in blank. This is what I do every single day. Blank, blank, blank. And then discuss how long you've been with the company. Maybe if you've obtained some degrees along the way. Stick to the motherfucking topic. Do not ever go in and talk too much. If you got gaps in your employment, and it could be related to children, sabbatical. Okay? I like to take, we like to travel. So periodically, we go to Europe. I don't give a fuck if you ain't never been. This was a sabbatical. We decided to take time off. My husband and I, we like to go to Europe or whatever. If you don't want to say husband, whatever. Normally, if you wear a ring, they know. But you get what I'm saying. Don't tell them that you have children. I just feel like in my own experience, I have seen myself be disqualified, especially when my kids were younger. When my kids were younger, I applied for management positions. I was rejected, and I feel like it had a lot to do with what I divulged in the interview. I shared too much. I over-communicated. And you have to be very careful about the things that you say. Now, for those of you who are expecting and you feel like, should I tell them that I'm having a baby? You are not obligated to. You're not obligated to reveal your pregnancy status in an interview. You do not have to tell them, even if you are 9 months pregnant and you go to an interview, you are not obligated to say anything. You're not required to communicate about anything. So be not knowledgeable of that fact as well. Even if you are expecting, guys, you don't have to divulge that. I don't care if your stomach is sticking out. Do not say anything. Now, let's fast forward to your actual time within the organization. Do you have to tell your employer that you're pregnant? No, you don't. However, right, if you are, because y'all know this country is made out of fucking loopholes. If you are requiring some type of reasonable accommodations, you're possibly going to be going on FMLA soon. Maybe you're going to be on bed rest. Maybe you have a shorter schedule. You have a lot of appointments. You are probably going to have to say something. Okay. And I'm going to tell you why, because when they see that paperwork, they're going to see it anyway. So you're going to have to go ahead and tell them. I'm expecting. If you're looking to get any type of accommodations in the workplace, because they have to deem it as reasonable. So if you are someone that maybe, let's just say you work in a factory or in a situation where you may be in danger and it's a little harmful for you to be in this scenario versus someone who is not expecting, like, let's say you're a police officer. You probably need to explain to them, I'm pregnant. Number one, because it's a hazard, right? What if you're chasing down someone and you fall on your stomach? Okay, you get hurt, maybe you lose your baby. It's a liability, and they have to be careful with that. They have to protect the company still and offer protections for you so that you can still do your job, but in a modified way, in a way that allows you to still feel, a part of the team, but you just can't be out here chasing no bad guys, girl. Like, your ass need to be sitting down behind a desk. And that's just how it has to be. I know some of y'all dumbasses gonna be like, well, why does she get to change her? Girl, she got a fucking baby in her stomach. Shut the hell up, okay? Modifications are necessary in order for people to be able to have a successful pregnancy and to make sure that they're not doing anything to hurt or harm themselves or their baby. Okay, so we have to make these changes for them. Now, let's circle back to FMLA. FMLA is where you're going to be taking your leave of absence from work, and normally it is based off of how you give birth. So some people, if it's a vaginal delivery, they are back to work in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever that time frame is that you have with your doctor. However, if you have a C-section, you're automatically going to be out for 3 months. That doesn't mean that just because you had a vaginal delivery, you cannot be home with your child for 3 months. You absolutely can. You can take as much time as you need. And if you want to be out for the full 3 months, take that full 3 months, period. I'm just saying that's how I've normally seen it happen. Now, During this time, your employer has to have someone in the background doing your job while you're not here. So that means you will have to communicate with them and let them know I'm getting ready to go on leave. I would say if you know your delivery date is in March, I would start communicating about.
This episode brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Shifting a little money here, a little there, and hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can get a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help find you options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
The leave and what that looks like in maybe the middle of January. That gives them over a month to prepare, especially if you know your C-section date is going to be in March. Y'all need to sit down and have that conversation in the middle of January to see what that looks like. And also, like, if you have to show people how to do your job, maybe you're like the only person that does that and they're just going to cover you for those 3 months, or the work is going to be divided amongst employees, or maybe even your manager is going to be doing some of your work. It's just a way to keep the business flowing. Okay, I know that it's this, like, that's my business. Like, I don't want anybody knowing my bit. Like, girl, please. The job still has to go on. Your ass may not even come back because you may get home and fall in love with that baby and be like, you know what? Fuck that job. The company still has to run. Okay? So if you are going out on FMLA, you will have to communicate with them. You will have to fill out those forms. And normally the doctor's office has those forms for you. Okay? Now, I know in my experience, my doctor's office, they use a third party to complete forms for FMLA, and they just give them to me, and I submitted them to my employer, and then I submitted them to AFLAC. Now, let's talk about the leave as far as your pay. During the time of your leave, you can have paid time off, right? If you have enough PTO saved up, maybe this was a planned pregnancy, you have enough PTO. Or your employer pays maternity leave, okay? Whether you have the PTO or not, it's a benefit, it's something that your employer offers, then you can utilize that. Now, if you were like me in that situation, I worked for a smaller organization, so they did not offer PTO, or not PTO, but paid maternity leave at the time when I had Aiden. I used AFLAC, okay? Now, AFLAC is a short-term disability company, and you can pay in to utilizing services like hospital policies, maybe maternity, or, different policies. They have cancer. They have a lot of stuff. So you sit down with the AFLAC rep, and especially if this is going to be a planned pregnancy, you want to make sure that you have AFLAC signed up or lined up prior to, because you cannot sign up for AFLAC and deliver tomorrow. There has to be at least a year in between you signing up and you delivering, okay? So you should not be trying to get pregnant until after, I would say, at least 4 months into your AFLAC policy, so that you don't run into any issues, because they pay you for your hospital stay as long as you have the hospital policy. And then they also pay you a percentage of your salary. So I think it's about 60 or 65% or something like that. If you happen to miss work for whatever reason, you just have to submit documentation that I was out and I missed my paycheck, and this is what, I'm supposed to get, right? So, or they give you 60% of your check based on your salary. So sign up for AFLAC, and that covers you during that time. Now, I think because this is during COVID also, when we had Aiden, I worked maybe until the middle of February, and then my company threw me a baby shower, and then I was done. And we had Aiden at the beginning of March, okay? So my leave, while it started in February, I just used my PTO for the last 2 weeks of February. Or wait, no, I didn't actually. I used the way the pay cycle is that it covered me until the first of the month. So I still got to check it at the first, and then I still had some PTO. And I opted to save my PTO because I have a husband. Okay, so my husband was working a lot of overtime while we were pregnant with Aiden, and that set us up for while we were going to be out. Now, did we know COVID was going to happen? No, the fuck we did. COVID literally happened the week after we brought Aiden home from the hospital. So we had Aiden on March 2nd, and COVID happened, and the kids were sent home like on the 11th or something like that. It was that following week. And we were home for 3 months. But thank God my husband, number one, prepared. We also got our taxes during that time, and then they did the stimulus during that time. So we had a lot of setup prepared, thank God, like that stimulus. But my husband's overtime is what contributed to making sure that we were good during that time. So I just want to say, like, if you know that you're going to have a baby, make sure you have AFLAC, make sure you have that planned. Don't get pregnant as soon as you sign up for AFLAC. Wait a few months so that you're over that 1 year, that you have that policy. Now, short-term disability, you can use if you're going to have a surgery. Like I seen somebody talking about they were having like a BBL or something like that. Any type of surgery that you're having, you have to submit that FMLA to that company. So even if your company doesn't offer AFLAC, they probably offer Colonial. There are several other short-term disability companies, and you just utilize that. Make sure that you turn in your FMLA paperwork, and you should not have any issues. But overall, going back to our original point, is that your employer cannot discriminate against you, okay? But they can get very fucking creative. If you have a lot of absences, if you are constantly missing work because of this situation, then please know that opens the door for them. Okay? They will find a way, bitch. Don't ever feel like, well, I'm pregnant, I'm safe. You're not. Okay? You are probably the most vulnerable employee, and it's awful. It is terrible, but it's the truth. Okay? So make sure you got all your ducks in a row. Don't be out here having no fucking kids willy-nilly. And I hope y'all have a good ass day. All right? Thank you very much. Bye-bye.